You're listening to We Are the Watchers of Movies. My name is Lauren.
I am Samantha.
And tonight we're talking about the Red Sea Diving Resort. For some reason, I have like the hardest time saying that.
I was calling it the Red Sea Diving Club in my head a lot, not the title. It's a Netflix original, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's with Chris Evans and Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, Greg Kinnear.
Greg Kinnear, yep. And Michael Huseman?
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
When do the Israeli actors come in? Oh,
since it's
spoiler
about
alert.
Israeli Mossad
There aren't
agents.
any.
Yeah, big fucking spoiler there. Oh my god.
I have plenty to say about this movie.
So, out of curiosity, I did look up to see what Israeli people look like. Like,
oh yes, I have to do that as well sometimes. Which is... Did you type into Google, what do Israeli people look like? Question mark.
I was curious. Like, I was like, so I was wondering if they were like darker, like, because I know like Iranian people can look like they're white people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, does Chris Evans look like he could be Israeli?
I thought he could. Sorry, you continue, and then
I'm done.
That's all you were gonna say.
Yeah, I'm
so passionate. I felt like I stepped on your.
You're fine.
I think that the casting director and the director thought, well, Israeli people are close to Caucasian looking, so we can get away with this. And they may have gotten away with it if maybe they'd cast Chris Evans for the star power and maybe given him an accent, or cast the rest of the group as with Israeli actors.
Right.
I think I would have forgiven Chris Evans being the lead if there was some cultural appreciation in the movie.
Yeah.
There was no Hebrew, and there was like...
Actually, have a thing.
There was
a
few signs sitting in the doctor's office with Hebrew writing on it, but there was nobody speaking Hebrew. There was nobody with an accent. It was so American, it made me angry, because the movie was set in Israel for part of it, and then in Sudan for the rest, but
in Jerusalem.
These people live in Israel. They are presumably Israeli. They are members of the Israeli Mossad.
Yeah.
So there is not one Hebrew person, Israeli person, in the mix. And I thought, you couldn't at least stack the deck with 3 people from Israel? Like,
right.
Is Gal Gadot busy? Yeah, probably, because she didn't want to be in a culturally insensitive movie.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't. She'd be like, listen, I'm Israeli, and this is a little offensive. Like,
Natalie Portman is Israeli.
Is she? I didn't know that.
She was born in Jerusalem, I believe. But
she
speaks
Scarlett
Hebrew.
Johansson is Ashkenazi. I can't talk. Ashkenazi Jew?
I did not know that.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I looked it up and I was like, oh, she is. So
that's pretty cool.
Someone told me that and I was like, no. And then I looked it up and I was like, I guess she is. So what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say I mean I don't think that Natalie Portman or Gal Gadot would be in this movie, but
then Chris Evans was. I mean,
well, yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah. It's like, well, I think okay. So I actually wanted to say, let me read you this.
Oh yeah,
really
what's
quick.
that quote that you had?
So. One of the things, because I looked it up, like I want to do, and one of the things that critics were saying is that they were putting forth a white savior narrative.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, yeah, that's...
Could he be any more American sounding as well?
Well, yeah, and that's weird. Like, well, and so the director said in a statement that the Ethiopian community, quote, "we're true partners in this operation, and we're the true heroes of the story," unquote. Noting that it was important to him to cast actors from the Ethiopian community in the film. So I'm like, okay, so then totally don't address at all the white savior narrative.
No, because he knows that there's nothing you can say about it.
No.
You actually brought up something that I was going to talk about. So the actor, I've never seen him before, but he plays the main Ethiopian character. His name is, the character's name is Kebede Bimro. Mm-hmm. The actor's name is Michael Kenneth Williams. I don't think I've seen him in anything. But
he looked familiar, but not enough for me to be like, oh, that guy.
So he was in charge of collecting the Ethiopian people from the refugee camps and bringing them to the checkpoint where the Israeli agents would then take them to the boats for safety, which we'll get into later. And he barely had any screen time. I didn't know anything about his character. Not one thing.
Well, and he was the most interesting, one of the
Yes.
most interesting characters, too.
I would have loved to see more about him because he was, like, in the trenches,
Mm-hmm.
saving people. I mean, they were all saving
He
people,
was risking his life way more than they were.
And then at the end of the movie, when they knew that they were about to be, like, they had to be done because the mission was compromised, Chris Evans says, "You've done enough. You got to get on this transport." And that man says, "I haven't done enough. There's still thousands of people." And I thought, wow, we don't see any of his story. We don't know that he's done enough because I don't know. All I see is him 3 times in the movie. And I just think that's also a major oversight. And could have spent a little less time focusing on Chris Evans exercising.
Oh my God! Was I not wrong about that, though?
I think you sent me a funny text when you were watching it that said, I think this movie is just to show how many times Chris Evans can do push-ups and pull-ups, and you were not wrong.
I know. I was like, from the beginning, they showed him working out, and then, like, almost every scene after that was, like, a scene of him working out, and I was like, why do we care? Like, we're not, like, and there was very little character development, and I was super disappointed, because that female Mossad agent, I loved her. Like, I was like, this chick is so badass. Like, the first scene you see her in, she, like, some guy tries to assault her, and she, like, just fucking kicks his ass. She, like, almost breaks his arm, and I was like, yeah! And then she's, like, barely in the rest of the film.
Yeah,
you know?
And once again, totally whitewashed, no accent, no...
Except for she was, like, German. She was German.
Well, she pretended to be German, but... Yeah,
I guess people can't see my quotations when I do them on a podcast, but yeah, she was pretending to be German.
Just so offensive. It's so offensive, and I don't know where their heads were.
Well, it's like tiring after a while, you know. You just it's kind of like why can't you cast like there's not like I don't know 4 or 5 Israeli actors out there that like could play these roles. Like, there's no one out there. There's only Chris Evans. You know, like...
Especially...
Like, don't get me wrong. I really like Chris Evans. I think he's a fantastic actor. However, I have a problem with the race thing.
Your white savior thing brought up something else that was really bothering me. I love Chris Evans as Captain America, but I think he's too self-righteous to play any other savior. I think he's always cast, or primarily cast, as this hunky, strong type. And that works for Captain America because Captain America is not human anymore. He is, but he's been altered. So he is literally invincible.
Right.
And so that works with how Chris Evans acts that sort of role.
Right.
But in any other role where he's just supposed to play a human, he is just too... He's almost too perfect.
Yeah,
and the scenes of him doing push-ups and sit-ups, I couldn't care less how stinking strong you are. I don't care.
Well, and it's not important. Who cares if he's buff?
It's like, I don't know. Do they want... Is this like... Are women nowadays... I guess people give men a very hard time for ogling women, but I feel as if a lot of TV and a lot of movies are made for women to ogle men, and it's socially acceptable, and that really bothers me.
You know, I mean, that's why I have that one video of that guy arm wrestling, because I think he's hot. Like, that's it. I don't have any attachment to the dude. I'm just like, oh, he's good looking.
I don't have any problem with people thinking other people are hot. I mean, everybody has somebody they think is hot. I don't like when directors are like, hey, ladies, you've got air in your brains, so we just want you to look at this man and watch a compelling... This movie's supposed to be thoughtful, but we know you won't pay attention, so look at these popping muscles.
Look at how often he works out. He's so strong.
Yeah, I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but it really bothers me.
No, I agree with you. Because... It's like we're starting to get rid of the narrative of like women being, you know, objectified in film. I think we're slowly doing it. It's a very slow process. But like,
I mean, every time a woman jokes about getting turned on at a construction site, an angel loses a wing. But every time a man talks about a woman in a bikini, like the world loses its mind at misogyny. And
yeah, that
really
I mean,
is a double standard.
it is a little bit of a double standard. It's but I don't know. I just thought it was so weird that they were like showing him working out so much. It's like it's just not important to the story. And then also you have and so this is just speaking of what was his name, Jake or whatever, Michelle Huseman. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Was he the one he picked up in Belize? Who was naked at the filming?
Yeah.
He actually had an accent, and I thought it made sense because he was picked up in South America.
Yeah,
He's not
he's
Israeli.
from Holland.
I am from Holland. Isn't that weird?
I'm from Holland. Isn't that weird? So that's like German. I can't do that.
Well, that's the gold member.
Yeah.
Austin Powers.
Yes, Will Ferrell, wasn't it? Oh no, it was
It was Mike Myers.
Oh, was it?
Playing. Yeah, Will Ferrell was.
He was the Russian guy.
Well, I don't remember his name. He's like, "You shot me right in the eye. You shot me."
Yeah, and then he's like dying in the ditch, and he's like, "I'm still alive."
I'm sorry, badly injured,
but I'm still alive. Yeah, that was funny. So I kind of don't like this actor, and
I know who you're talking about. I've seen him in things that I don't know. I can't remember what I've seen him in.
Well, he was in The Age of Adeline. Maybe that's what you saw.
Yeah.
But he was in The Haunting of Hill House, and I didn't particularly like him in that, and I've just seen him in a bunch of other things, and everything I've seen him in, I'm just like, there's something about this guy that really irritates me.
I thought he was, to take a book from the Lauren playbook, I thought he was more attractive in this movie than in Age of Adeline.
He was
like a long-haired sort of bohemian in Age of Adeline, and I thought, he's too dramatic in this. But in this movie, he just kind of had like short hair, and he just looked
I liked his mustache.
He was just nice looking. I thought.
And that's funny because I was gonna say that, and I'm glad that you said.
I like that I just went on a tirade about women ogling men, and I'm like, let me stop, pump the brakes. Let's talk about how good.
Let's be a little hypocritical here for a second. Just whatever. At least we're acknowledging your hypocriticism.
Hypocriticism.
Is that right? Is that wrong?
Hypocriticism.
That sounds right.
Hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy.
No, I like it.
Hypocriticism. You know what? English is a made-up language, as I say all the time. And I know you always correct me and say every language is made up, whatever, but English in particular feels particularly made up.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, because, like, when I'm, at home chillaxing on a weekend,
Big time.
I can't think of any other made-up words, but it was funny because it's funny that you said that because every other movie that I've seen him in, I'm like, this guy, whatever. But then when I saw him in this, I was like, wow, he's kind of good looking in this. And that's like the only film that I've ever been attracted to.
He
also,
just seems
he didn't
so,
talk a lot.
Like he was used very sparingly, and in the other movies I've seen, he's just too over dramatic. In the other movie,
he's always and also he's like kind of always super self-righteous.
Yes.
Yeah, like he's just like
a brooding self-righteous type.
Did you ever see The Invitation? So Logan, Marshall Green, and him, and that's like the only actors. It's pretty good. It's like a thriller a little bit, and I think it's on Netflix.
I'm interested.
You might like it. It's but he's in that, and his character is like obnoxiously self-righteous, like to the point where you're just like, dude, stop talking. Like, my God, but it is a good movie if you ever want to watch it. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, maybe. So you don't care for him so much.
No, that was the moral of
right.
that story. I did really like Sammy, though.
Yes,
I thought Sammy was
favorite.
interesting. Yeah,
and he was in a movie called Mansfield Park.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've never seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
And I was a mega fan of that movie when I was younger. I haven't seen it in a long
Jane
time.
Austen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he played a really good. I don't know. He was really good in that movie, and I don't think I've seen him in anything that I can recall from that movie until now. And when he came on screen, I thought, who is it? I know that guy, and I got really excited. I didn't really say I was sitting alone, but I was in my head. I was like, I
talk to myself. We all live alone. We talk to ourselves all the time.
We all live alone. That's really deep. And I got really excited, so I couldn't.
I meant like
him.
you and I.
I know. Yeah. I just thought that like a good existential quote, but I couldn't place him, and so I had to look him up, and I got really excited because I didn't know that he was still in the business, and then I saw a list of other things that he's been in, and I think it's possible I've seen him in things, and I just didn't recognize him. But in this movie, I really liked him as well.
Yeah,
probably the best character. But I wish he would have been
too.
played. I wish he would have had it. I just wanted an accent or something.
Right. Well, and also,
I mean, I prefer you cast the culture that you're depicting, but if for some reason you can't do that or you don't find anybody that's good enough, at least try to respectfully depict the culture that you're depicting.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's like, it's just weird because I'm like watching this movie and I'm like, okay, are they supposed to be from like the United States? Are they? Oh, are they from Israel? Like,
you actually raise a good question. So I spent most of the movie being annoyed, but Chris Evans did say something that exonerated him. So I'm gonna rant like 3% less than I planned on ranting because he was talking to the woman, and he did say that he lived in the United States from age 7 to age 18.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
However. So that's why I'm more prone to forgive slightly the inconsistencies in his character. But all the rest of the people, and the people that they were in contact with at, I don't know if it was like an embassy or a consulate, the people that they were in contact with there, the people on the radio, the people on the Israeli Navy ship, all of them were American. They didn't even have... Now, I will concur that sometimes it's annoying to have the generic... We have a British accent, therefore we're foreign. But even that is a more appropriate attention to detail than what this movie did.
Yeah, well, like, Ben Kingsley had a British accent, but he also looks like he could be Israeli.
And he has this sort of gravitas, I guess.
Yeah.
Where and he is actually, I think, isn't he Indian?
He's Indian, yeah.
So he is from... I mean, not the same country, but he's from sort of that region. I mean, I don't want to be... It's not obviously the Middle East, but he is sort of... He's of that... Sort of that culture adjacent. And so that makes a little bit more sense. Well, and he's like
darker... He's a man of color.
Exactly. That's a better way of saying it.
Yeah. Well, and I think, it's like what I say with... Like, and I know I've said this to you before, where when they cast a white person as a person of color... Like, when they did that... Didn't they do that with, like, Rooney Mara, and she was playing Tiger Lily in one of the Peter Pans?
And they did it with Johnny Depp in the... He played an Indian.
He played Tonto in...
The Lone Ranger.
It was terrible.
I never saw it.
Don't see it. It's bad. Armie Hammer's cool. Like, he's funny, but... Well, I don't like Johnny Depp. So there's that. I mean... But no, I agree. Well, but even Johnny Depp looks like he could be, like... He does look like he has a darker skin color. I'm not, and you know what I mean.
I know
he has a little bit of an olive-colored skin color.
I think if they have to cast it a certain way, then they should go out of their way to at least compensate in all the other areas that they can.
Right. Well, but like what I was saying is like it doesn't like if you're gonna cast a white person, and no, okay, let me start over again. I'm losing my train of thought. What I'm trying to say is, if you're going to cast a person of color, even if they're not Israeli, like, then use a Hispanic person, use an Indian person, use a Native American person, use, I don't know, a Filipino person, like, any person of color that looks like they could be remotely Israeli, but don't use a white guy.
Don't use a white guy, and don't give every single person in the movie, except for the African cast.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give every other person in the movie an American accent. Obviously, also except for Ben Kingsley, but everybody else.
Yeah.
It was just, it felt like I was sitting in a high school in Middle America watching a stage production where all the high school students were playing Israelis. Okay, so I had something else that I wanted to say. And that was, I thought this story was amazing.
Yeah.
It's a compelling, based on a true story, and it's so good. And I think if they would have laid this script in the hands of somebody like Steven Spielberg,
oh yeah,
he could have made a beautiful, and I don't know if this is an actual term, but like a Jewish heritage sort of film.
Yeah.
Because the story is saving Ethiopian Jews from genocide
right.
by bringing them to Jerusalem.
Right.
And I think just in the hands of somebody who would take the appropriate, who would have the thoughtfulness to appreciate the culture that they're representing and the people group that they're representing, I think could have done an amazing job because the story is awesome.
It is. Well, and not only that, but I think one of the biggest issues I had for me is that I wish there was a more of an emotional component to the film because I felt like there are these people who are risking their lives. They are like literally running for their lives. They're going to die if they don't. And you do get kind of these, scenes or hints every now and then, like that one lady who was like, my husband died, my father died, like while we were, but that was like one glimpse. And then there was that one scene where they were killing all those people, which was a super like emotionally driven scene. It was super terrifying.
Some of the visuals in the movie were very intense. Like they showed point blank headshots.
Oh my God, that was scary.
Yeah, they showed people like bodies in a burned out car.
Yeah.
They showed a woman who had presumably been raped with blood all over her dress.
Yeah.
And so some of the visuals I thought were for shock value, but I didn't think that like you said, on the other end of the spectrum, the emotional aspect, I didn't think it matched the intensity of the violent visuals they were showing.
I agree. And it was like, I mean, you're seeing these people being shot and there's no one who's like panicking or freaking out in the crowd. Like, you have to assume that some of these people are related to the people who just got shot.
Yeah.
And if it were me, and if it was my father or my mother who just got shot in the head, you bet your ass I'd be flipping out, you know?
That's something, actually, you're bringing up a good point. They made, oh wow, I'm just realizing this now that you said that. They could have done so much more with the Ethiopian storyline. They could have made us connect to the characters. They could have like plucked out a family and showed us their journey because there was the scene where the I don't know, were they militants that were sort of ruling the area, the Sudanese militants.
That's super scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was terrifying.
Well, so they came into the little refugee camp and they were saying, people are disappearing from this refugee camp. Where are they going? And they lined up everybody. And I also find this scene really disrespectful now because, like you just said, you opened my eyes. They were shooting people point blank in rows until somebody spoke, and it was just like docile as lambs.
Yeah.
And I thought
the only thing you hear are gasps.
Yeah,
it's like people are like, "I'm so shocked that this happened." It's like these people just are dead. Like, they're dead, man. They're not coming back to life. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
and these people, this group of people have been through a lot, but they're not stupid.
No.
They are human beings, and that is, I just...
Well, and they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's the thing.
Nobody was, like, screaming. There was no pandemonium. It was almost just, like... Just standing there.
Yeah, I mean, and...
I don't like that. I really don't like that. They really didn't paint that group of the cast in a very good picture. The only time you ever see characters is when you see the evil, Sudanese people. The only time you ever get deeper into the African storyline is when you see the bad guys.
Right.
And that's also offensive.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but it's like... It just, this person is creating this whole story about this, I mean, I had no idea this was something that had ever happened. I had no idea.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't know either.
That says something for the American school system, whatever, but, I
keep interrupting you.
Okay.
Finish and then I'll...
Okay.
I just am so passionate about this movie.
No, I totally agree. The thing is that it's... they're trying to create this emotionally compelling narrative, but they just miss the mark. And that's the whole thing is that it's... And, like, I don't really care about the white savior. What I want to see are these Ethiopian people who are fighting for their lives, fighting to survive, fighting against this horrible, scary tyrant.
I mean, it's a scary story, because they have automatic weapons against people who... against I guess you could call them farmers.
Yeah.
You know, they live
Well,
in
they're
little
essentially
villages and they're
peaceful
farming.
people,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're being rallied up and killed with automatic weapons.
Yeah, like just exterminated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
And-
no remorse.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like almost no emotional component to it
Nothing.
whatsoever. Like I should have been like
Crying.
crying. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I should have been crying at that scene because it was a very terrifying scene. And the thing is about this is that if you're going to show something that is so emotionally impactful and so scary like this that happens all the time,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to reach out to your viewers' humanity and be like, look at what's going on.
Yeah.
Look at these people suffering and they are just like you. And it's like, and just to put
Like,
it
no,
in,
these people aren't just like me because they don't even care when
Yeah.
their friends
their
and family
friends
are getting
getting-
killed
yeah.
point blank. They
Yeah.
just stand there
They
and
just
let it
stand there.
happen.
Exactly. And I really felt like this guy missed the mark. And
Big time.
what I was thinking too was that, did you ever see Hotel Rwanda?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
This movie wanted to so
my
badly
gosh,
be
yes,
Hotel Rwanda, and it
yes.
wasn't. And Hotel Rwanda was an awesome movie.
It was awesome.
It was an
Awesome.
extraordinary film. Like,
Yeah.
and you know what? And it wasn't a white savior. Don Cheadle was the lead actor in
Mhm.
it, and Sophie Okonedo or whatever.
Yeah.
And because I looked it up like later, I was like, I wonder how well this did, and if I remember correctly.
Right.
But
Well, I mean,
you know,
this movie had. I mean, the story of this movie is that they were saved by Israeli people as well as I'm sure that Ethiopian guy.
right?
So you know, obviously there is a purpose for the non-African actors to be in it and to be helping, but they could have just really pumped up the Ethiopian storyline way more.
I agree.
And actually, you made me think of something that I thought of last night as I was watching it. So early on in the movie, when Chris Evans was going around trying to get the other like Mossad agents to join him, they all said a similar line where it was like, well, this is happening in Africa and you can't get headlines about Africa, and this is happening in Africa and nobody around the world cares. And I thought that nobody portrayed that better than a movie who was supposed to be talking about the plight of people in Africa, not showing the plight of people in Africa.
I know, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh man.
And I thought of that last night. I was like, did they not even read their own script? Because they're
Right.
being so self-righteous right now. It's like somebody who says, I'm not racist, I have black friends. Like,
Yeah,
this
like,
person,
it doesn't prevent
this
you from
director-
saying racist things.
yeah, like this director is like, I'm not racist because I cast African people.
Well, and that's exactly what he's saying. He's like,
And
no. It's fine because there are Ethiopian people in it. And I'm like, yeah, Ethiopian people who were barely in it at
Yeah.
all. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, there's only one Ethiopian person that we really even know the name of.
And
And-
he gets any like barely any screen
Yeah.
time.
I mean,
so.
and he was such an interesting character too. and
his
it's-
story was awesome.
what story?
Yeah, well,
Like,
just I
like-
guess the story I imagined in my head where he saved a bunch of people and Chris Evans
Yeah.
gets the credit for it.
Chris Evans.
But there were some
Listen,
scenes.
Chris Evans, I love you. You're great. But that casting director should not direct and
I
cast you in
think
this
that
film.
I think that people get I think that there is definitely an award. I mean, this is nothing new. But there's an award show culture to some movie making, and when you're watching a movie, I'm sure you have this because you're a movie person. When you're watching a movie, you can either you say I either say in my head,
Sorry, just giving shit.
I say in my head, this actor needed a paycheck, or I say in my head, this actor wants an award. And I feel like this movie is right
Leonardo DiCaprio.
territory for this actor wants an award. And I think that, because there was a few years ago when Will Smith got really mad because he wasn't nominated for his role in that movie about football concussions. I don't remember what it was called.
I think it was called Concussion.
He
wasn't it?
he didn't get nominated for anything, and there was some quotes of him like being really angry, and I thought, whoa, what did you take the movie for? Did you take the movie because you believed in the part, or did you take the movie because you thought, here's a subject that will get on the award show's radar? And I think that this movie, the Red Sea Diving Resort, is
Mhm.
proof that if you don't have passion about it, if you're just doing it because it's a topic, and you can make like long scenes of you can make long scenes of the soundtrack that goes ooh, 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 and try to make people feel things because of that. That doesn't mean you're gonna get an award.
It's so true. They have these like emotional, like it's almost like an Enya, like
Yeah. I feel like they just brought a woman into the studio and they were like, "Listen,
just sing a bunch of shit.
we want to have we need to have Oscar clips. We need to have a really grave situation. So we just want you to do like as many ooh as possible, just because we're showing an intense scene right now, and this is really gonna look good when you know."
You know what they could have done? They could have brought in the guy that did the score for Titanic and just have him play one song in just a bunch of different ways. Have you ever noticed that? It's literally every single song in Titanic is My Heart Will Go On, but like a slightly different version of My Heart Will Go On.
I love it. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Because I was listening to it, and I was listening to like. There was something like roses, whatever, like, and I'm like, wow, this is really beautiful. And then I listened to like one right after, and I was like, this is the same damn song. Like, the guy just was like, this is a great formula. I'm going to use it, and I'm just going to use it over and over and over again. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is where she pushes him off the board and kills him.
Is it? Are you sure?
This is where they're having sex in the car, and the car's a hold. This is where she's hanging off the back of the ship, and they first meet.
Man, I love Titanic.
I do too.
Great movie.
Titanic.
You know, for all the shit I give Leonardo DiCaprio, I love Titanic.
Yeah, I went through the proper emotions about Titanic, where I loved it as a 13-year-old, hated it as a 23-year-ld, love it again as a 30-something, you know?
Yes, I saw it twice in theaters. My mom closed her hand over my eyes during the sex scene.
Did she really?
She did. She was like, no, you can't see it. And I was like, they're not even doing anything.
My mom took me to so many movies when I was a kid, because I guess when you're raising a movie kid, you just take into things. And my mom took me to the movie Pleasantville when I was pretty young, and I remember thinking in the movie, like, I wonder if this is awkward for her because it's awkward for me, but oh well. And then she took me to see American Beauty, and she
oh my god, she took you to, how old are you?
She
when
was
you
the
saw American
best.
Beauty?
I don't remember when those movies
Did
came out.
you actually see it in theaters?
Oh yeah.
Oh, because that came out I think like 98 or something.
Okay, so I would have been 14, but
well, I mean, but there is like a guy who's trying to have sex with
and
like
he
a
masturbates in the shower. But
yeah.
all that aside, my mom took me to a lot of
my
things, and she was a good mom. She was a good sport. I think she liked movies too, but I feel like I cultivated my movie interest very early in life, and she allowed me to enjoy it without being like, no, you're too young, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there were probably some movies that she didn't let me see, but most of the time, if I said, I want to go see this movie, she'd take me, even if she didn't know what it was about.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
That's an intense movie to watch as a kid, because that's like, I mean, that's one of my favorite movies.
It's
like,
good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things, a lot of movies that I saw as a kid that I saw again as an adult, and I can pick out things that I'm like, I know I didn't understand that as a child, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really know. In Pleasantville, I feel like there's a character, maybe the mom character, she learns about masturbation, and she changes color.
Yeah.
And I'm almost certain that at that age I wasn't quite sure why. Because I understood that the people having sex were changing colors. That made sense to me. But I think it was still sort of like nebulous about why she was changing color.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No,
So,
that, yeah. No, well, and then there's like that one scene with Paul Walker where he's like, what's happening to my body? And she's like, that's normal. And I realized later, I'm like, oh my god, he is a boner.
Yeah, a
A boner!
Yeah. So
anyway.
yeah, I love Titanic as well.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of it anymore because
yeah, you know, we should, when Devil in the White City comes out, we should do an episode on that one, so then I can rant nonstop about how much I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio in certain roles.
He
had no right playing Hugh Glass. I'm sorry, but no, that guy was a fucking badass, and he should have not played Hugh Glass. Okay, it should have been like Hugh Jackman or something, or just
if your name was Hugh,
anyone
basically.
else.
Hugh Grant.
No, Hugh Grant would have been like, excuse me, I just got attacked by a bunch of bears. Would
Here's
you
like a
mind,
weird British
please,
stutter.
if you could, I just need to find these men and murder them. It's no big deal, but really, I'm suffering quite a bit now, and I think I may be dying, but I'm probably going to be okay. I don't mean to bother you.
Who do I have to shag around you to be safe from a bear?
Exactly. Yeah. Now I would have watched that movie. That would have been hilarious.
What's that movie called?
Proper British man being at my best.
What's the movie that you're talking about called again? I can't remember.
The Revenant.
The Revenant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
but
should have
because
been called Love, actually. The Revenant. I don't know.
you,
That joke is so stupid because I had to ask you the title and then I couldn't fit it in.
I'm worried that this is gonna start playing. One sec. Okay. Yeah.
So back to the movie.
Yeah. Back to the movie. No, but that Hugh Glass. Did you ever? There's an episode of The Dollop. I think that they did. Oh no, wait. Was it The Dollop? Yeah, it was The Dollop, and it's really good if you want to listen to it. Shout out to Gareth and Dave. Hey.
Yeah, The Dollop is funny.
We love you guys, especially Jose. Well, I do. I love Jose. I follow him on Instagram now. He is his own
A little cat Instagram.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
He has Instagram posts. Posts. Okay. So back to the Red Sea diving resort. So there was some things I wanted to
I thought that was funny.
Thank you.
You're like,
If I can think of a pun, I feel like I do a disservice by not telling it.
well,
So-
and we have a tendency, we like to pass, what do we do, like pass cat pictures or dog pictures back and forth and then do puns based on it.
Yeah.
Like,
Via
I'm
text.
positive this is going to be cute. Because
So-
that's just kind of nerds we are. So anyway.
I like animals.
I like animals too.
So, back to the movie. There were some parts
Mm-hmm.
I really liked. I'm a sucker for a montage. So, even in a turd movie, well, even in a turd like this, I don't know what I'm. There was a scene after they did their first successful mission. So,
Mhm.
they had to take the trucks and they picked up the people and then they took them to the ocean, or it was the sea, the Red Sea, the Red Sea. And then Navy
Sorry,
SEALs,
you're
Israeli Navy SEAls would be there with like the little boats, and they would take them to a bigger Navy ship out to sea, and then they would be safe. So
Right.
that was their mission. So after their first successful mission, they kind of like hit their stride, and the movie had a really nice. There's two things I want to bring. So the movie had a really nice montage that showed just them hitting their stride. They're running the resort, so they have a cover because there's guests at the resort,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing successful missions. And I got really, and it's to the song "Hungry Like the Wolf."
So
So that was the only
time.
time like I felt sort of like the Grinch when I was watching it, because I'm like, my heart grew 2 sizes because it's a really well done piece of the movie. I think they got that part right. It produces the emotions that a montage is supposed to produce. It conveys a really good storyline really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought, if I was supposed to give a speech about how great this movie is, I would probably focus on that part of the movie,
Yeah.
because so
Right.
that was really well done. But there was something else that I really didn't like, and it is, so there was a scene early when they first opened the resort, or they didn't open the resort, they bought it and everything, and they were there, and they were just sort of using it as a cover, as a front. But there was a bus of German tourists that came, and they're like, "We're here," and so they sort of had to accommodate them on the fly, and that was neat because it showed them that, because then the Sudanese militants came later,
Mm-hmm.
and they were suspicious, but they had a perfect cover-up because they had guests at the resort, so they
Right.
decided, we need to make this a real working resort, and I liked that. But what I didn't like, and this is so, I don't know how silly this is, but it really bothered me. So the two men, Sammy and Chris Evans' character, Ari,
Yeah.
are driving to get the pickup of the refugees, and Sammy says, "Of course it's Germans. It's always Germans." And I was like, "Are you throwing in a Holocaust joke? Because I don't like Holocaust jokes."
No, well, and they're not funny.
And I don't think they're not funny, and I don't like that it was such an easy joke. I mean, granted, I don't know if this is truly part of the real story, if their first guest at the resort was a group of German tourists. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't like the cheap joke. I just don't. It's like, I'm not an idiot. I'm a member of the audience who knows the Holocaust.
Well, and I think most people do.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, great point.
I would say, like,
so
I
don't need you to paint me this hilarious joke about Germans coming and ruining the party. Like, the movie is not about that anyway, and it's just so cheap. It's so cheap. It's like, if I'm a stand-up comedian and no one is laughing, why don't I just pull out some old racist and anti-Semitic jokes about the Holocaust or about slavery, because I want to make sure everyone's paying attention.
Right.
And I just don't like it. I don't appreciate it. I think it's too heavy for that sort of spirit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like in horror movies when they have a lot of jump scares because it's bad writing and it's lazy storytelling.
Yes.
It's like, don't show me, like, and I'm just going on my own thing because I like horror movies, but there are a lot of horror movies out there that rely just on jump scares. And after a while, like, as you see so many horror movies, those jump scares don't really scare you anymore. They're just annoying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if I'm going to watch something, regardless of whether it's horror or it's supposed to be an emotional movie like this, which is really not an emotionally compelling movie, I thought at all. And I'm a crier. I cry at everything. I mean, my God. I was watching that Too Cute show and I was like,
Too Cute. So cute. I love Too Cute. It's so cute. It's so cute.
Oh, God.
It's too cute. They
it's
really,
too cute.
I mean, talk about a piece of media that got the title
I
right.
know. Oh, my God. When that puppy got to stay with his best friend, the baby goat, I was like dying.
Animal friends are probably my favorite thing.
Interspecies animal friends are my favorite. I love cats and horses. Those are my favorite ones. Shit, I was going to say something else and I can't remember.
We're talking about emotionally compelling.
Yeah. No, it's what you were saying about the Holocaust joke or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same vein of lazy storytelling where it's like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Like, we all know that the Holocaust happened and we all know how it was a huge amount of human tragedy that was absolutely devastating and changed the course of, the face of the world, essentially. And it's just like, but for a joke like that, where there's legitimately people dying in the streets that are being persecuted because they're Jewish, is that appropriate? Right there? Like, no.
I don't know. That level of humor it's just strange to me. I don't like it. Personally, I don't know. I find any sort of Holocaust humor, I don't find it funny.
And it's not funny.
Even if you're poking fun at the Germans, I just don't think it's funny. I don't like it. Because it's too lighthearted. Like, have you heard that hilarious slave owner joke that I tell? It's the same thing. It's just, even if you're poking fun at the bad guys, I still don't like it because it's such an evil situation. I don't think it deserves our humor or attention in that way.
And also, if you're going to clump an entire group of people that are from a country like Germany, it's like, maybe if you're going to joke about it, like, maybe have some self-awareness and realize that there were way more people that were German that were not in the Nazi party, that were not part of the whole, like, I hate Jewish people. And then there were that were against the Jewish people, but it was such a enormous amount of, like, cultural brainwashing that it's scary to stand up against a man when your life could possibly also be in danger.
When you have a family at home, and also, I mean, anti-Semitism is nothing new. I mean, the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah. So.
And there was Stalin killed as many Jewish people.
I think it was called,
Yeah, he killed as many. I think he actually killed 10 million Jewish people. So he killed more Jewish people than Hitler did. And so no one ever talks about Stalin.
Yeah.
For some reason, which I think is super weird because he was horrible.
Well, there was this quote. This is not about the Jewish people. It's about Armenians. I can't remember the quote. Or who said the quote, but it's there was a genocide against Armenian people, and somebody said, like, well, who remembers the Armenians? We can get away with this because people don't remember. So there's obviously some selective forgetfulness in
Right.
history that is kind of appalling, but I have this theory of like this subtle anti-Semitism
Mm-hmm.
that happens, and I think this movie had it, and I'm not trying to suggest that anybody who was making the movie or part of the movie did this intentionally, so I don't know how that all comes into play, but when I see it, it makes me pause and it makes me think, and I think the thoughtlessness of lines like that in the movie and the thoughtlessness of the casting all around, the whole thing, sort of point to this, I don't know, it's really weird, but when I notice it, and I can't unsee it. And it reminded me a lot of something I felt when I was watching the movie The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that movie?
I did not.
Well, so...
It looked really depressing.
Well,
and I was like,
people were really emotional about it, and they were like, oh, it's so sad, and it really opened your eyes about the horrors of the Holocaust, and it's so emotional. So basically the story is a little German boy, his dad and mom and sister all moved to the country because his dad is a Nazi guard at a concentration camp.
Mm-hmm.
But the little boy is just a little bit too young and a little bit sheltered, and he doesn't know what concentration camps are. And so they're living in the country, and their property sort of way far away from the house. It's not next to the house, but their property sort of like butts up against the fence of this concentration camp, and he makes friends with a little Jewish boy within the camp. And him and the boy are just friends, through the fence. And then, spoiler alert, but the little German boy sneaks into the camp to play. And, through happenstance, it's so ridiculous. Sometimes this happens. Through happenstance, he gets rounded up en masse with the rest of the Jewish men, and he gets killed in a gas chamber.
Oh.
And it's so offensive. It's so offensive that I am supposed to feel sad for a little German boy getting killed in a gas chamber when the Holocaust was horrific enough.
Yeah.
I don't need you to act like I'm stupid and be like, you should be feeling sorry for this, so let's make a story that makes you feel sorry. No. And that's just, I just feel as if there's this subtle, people probably don't even realize they're doing it, and I don't know what to categorize it as because I'm not thinking that people are intentionally being evil. But at the same time, I think this is so offensive, and I feel that way about the movie. I feel that way about the Red Sea Diving Resort because I feel like they, not anti-Semitism necessarily, but racism, I feel like they did not portray the African community, both Ethiopian or Sudanese, very highly.
No.
The only people besides the one leader who snuck people out, the only people that really got screen time was the militant leader and the corrupt official that they were trying to lease the resort from,
Mm-hmm.
who they had to bribe,
Yeah.
and who was pretty evil.
Oh.
And
the
so they
worst.
were the only people that had like lots of lines and lots of screen time, and then also just the thoughtless casting of the Israeli people. And
Yeah.
just, they didn't, and his daughter, Chris Evans, was at home with his daughter in Israel, and she spoke with an American accent. She didn't speak Hebrew. She didn't speak with an accent at all. She at least had dark hair, but then later in the movie, she sends him this piece of artwork. Also, she's a terrible artist.
She's like 7!
The daughter sends him this piece of art, and it says, my family.
First of all,
It says,
terrible.
my family in English.
Oh my god, it does.
And I hate that. I hate it.
It does. I never even
so
realized
annoying.
that.
I mean,
oh
this is not 1983
No.
where the world was a little bit bigger because we weren't all connected. This is the time where if you want to make something really compelling and you want to draw people's attention to this situation, you should go above and beyond. You should go out of your way to make it as good as possible because this is your legacy. And you're falling short. And I like seeing it say my family on the picture was the last straw for me because
that was the end of the movie.
Yeah, it was literally the last straw for me. But I just there's no redemption. I thought there is no redemption in this.
And that's funny
movie.
because I didn't even think twice about that until you pointed that out. Now I'm like, oh my god, that's right. It was in English. Why would she be writing in English?
Why would she be talking to him in
Yeah,
English?
yeah.
I mean, well, they probably learned it because all the other countries are more advanced and they teach their kids second language.
Yes,
So
no,
she probably
not
would
us,
speak English.
not us, United States.
But
It's
I
English
would
or nothing.
imagine if you're at home in a different country, you probably speak your native language.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to be like, if I, I mean, I have relatives in Italy. I'm not going to go to Italy and just speak English with them. Like, I'm going to try and learn their language because that's their language, especially if I was staying for a long period of time.
Yeah.
If I was staying for several months, then I'm going to do my best to, integrate into their lives because
Right.
it's their world. It's not mine, So
I find it, and I am not easily offended by anything. I don't think, not much really makes me this pumped up. Like, I can get a little bit annoyed by things that I find slightly offensive, but I do not feel this passionate about anything, but I feel very, I don't know, like Jewish culture, Israeli culture, I'm very fascinated by it, and when I see it misused or done like this, it really gets me.
Well, it's like what you said, it's offensive because what they're doing is they are going, look at these people, but they are doing it in a way that's like, well, United States people can't possibly read subtitles. I mean,
yeah,
and
that's a good way of.
It's like, I've been watching that. And this is kind of off. Well, actually, it has kind of to do with the thing, but it's The Devil Next Door, about that guy that they think is the Nazi guard from Treblinka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. John. It's like Janjuk or something. Anyway, they think he's Ivan the Terrible. That was his nickname in Treblinka. Some of it is in English, most of it's in Hebrew.
Oh, see, that's awesome.
Yeah, so when they're doing like because it does take place, I think it takes place in Israel. It's a documentary.
Okay.
So the all the testimonies and everything are these people who are speaking Hebrew, and that was he was God, I want to say he's like from the Netherlands or something though. He's not. Yeah, he's like from Holland or something.
I am from Holland.
I am from Holland. Every time.
How does this keep happening?
Did you ever see that commercial where this guy's like, I'm going to Holland, and he's like gathering all this like stuff, and he's like, I'm going to Holland, it's gonna be great. And someone approaches him and they're like, you're going to Holland, Michigan, right? And he's like, oh, okay. Like he was like getting like a, what was that, Rosetta Stone, like this week like Swedish, like and everything, and
Swedish.
Just like yeah.
Why Swedish?
Wait. Oh no! Where's Holland? It's its own country. It's okay. I used to think Vermont was a city.
I'm laughing so hard it's silent. I just want to let our listeners know.
So anyway, I'm really bad at geography. When I used to work at my old job, my coworkers would like tease me constantly because I was so bad at geography. They're like, where's Indiana? And I was like, it's in this area somewhere near Michigan-ish. They're like,
you should look on a map if you don't know. Why are you asking me?
Well, what they would do is they're like, we're going to print out a blank map, and then you can fill it out and see how far you are.
Jeez.
They were really
ruthless.
They were ruthless. And I was like, I know where like Washington, Oregon, California, Texas, Florida, and Michigan are. I was like, I know where Maine is and Rhode Island. And that's pretty much it.
What else is there?
What else is there? The 13 colonies.
You're just an old school colonial. That's
exactly,
all.
That's all. I mean, really. Sure, I can't point them out on a map, but it doesn't matter.
God save the Queen. Whoop, don't say that.
Revolutionary War starting.
The American Revolution just became funny, so we're allowed to joke about it.
It's like when people like say stuff like, did I ever show you that like really inappropriate joke about Lincoln, like with the coins?
Which one? I've heard so many. I don't think you have.
So if you look at the coins, if you look at the quarter and then like the dime, the nickel, and then the penny, the quarter, the dime, and the nickel are all facing like forward. They're all facing left, but then the penny is facing right.
Oh.
And someone showed me this joke, and they said it's because you never get over getting shot in the back of the head.
Oh no!
I was like, wow, that's terrible, and I laughed really hard. And I showed a bunch of people because I was like, look at how horrible this joke is and how offensive. And
When I hear something offensive, my first goal is to spread it far.
I mean,
No, I'm
it happened in the 1800s.
I'm just joking.
Like,
Yeah,
no.
see now the
Yeah.
Lincoln assassination. There was a quote in The Office. He said the Lincoln assassination recently became funny. I hope to live in a world where I can make a hilarious AIDS joke. That's all a quote. That's all a quote from The
Oh,
Office.
okay,
I'm
okay.
not saying it. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, anyway, so
Yeah. Speaking of languages,
mhm.
was there anything else you wanted to say about that documentary?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, it's interesting though. I'm not finished with it yet because I think it's many parts.
And it's called The Devil Next Door.
Yeah, The Devil Next Door.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like basically the whole thing takes place in the 80s.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of 80s footage and stuff like that, or like early 90s footage. Because I think the guy has died since then.
Okay.
So, but what they're doing is they're really kind of painting this picture like, is he the guy that we think he is, or is he an innocent man?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
A mystery.
so it's interesting because you don't know. And that's it. Like, you don't know until, and I've, like, Googled it and everything, and I'm like, who is this guy? Was he Ivan the Terrible? What did Ivan the Terrible do? And I know Ivan the Terrible was a historical figure as well. I think in, like, the 1400s or something. Probably, like, one of those Vlad Tepes kind of guys.
Yeah.
That was like, you could put him in the Dracul category.
Oh.
Dracul. Dracula means son of Dracul. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now
Anyway.
I know that.
Now you do know that.
So Ula
but-
is the suffix for like son of.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Dracula.
Language is interesting.
Yeah,
I love
it is
it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway.
So
that was
speaking,
it.
actually, that's a good segue. So speaking of language, so there's a scene where the militant group in
Mhm.
Sudan is becoming suspicious. So they visit the Red Sea diving resort, and
Mhm.
they are eating dinner, an awkward dinner, with the
Oh, that was
Mossad
terrible.
agents. And they're all sitting there, and they have I assume it's a Muslim woman. She works at the resort. She's like one of the local staff. There's a
Mhm.
few people there that are local that work there. And
That
she
was
is
a hard scene to watch.
well,
I'm not
there's
gonna lie.
there's a lot of things that I think that are interesting about that scene, but there's one thing that really bothered me. And so she's serving them dinner, and the leader of the militant group, starts talking to her in, I don't know what language they speak over there. Is it Sudanese or is it?
I don't know.
I don't know. So he's speaking to her in the native tongue of the country, and the subtitles say, just pretend I'm asking you about the food. And I don't know how the real story went. Once again, I am a little bit ignorant about the ins and outs of the real story, but I find it really hard to believe that the Israeli government didn't send at least one person over there that spoke the
that
native
is
language.
weird. That's weird.
Especially since, in my head, Mossad agents are like the top dogs.
Yeah.
You don't. It's like MI6 level.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I mean, you're gonna send people out there who like,
So-
and they had spoke multiple languages.
Yeah.
The group, like, there was the guy that Michael, whatever Huseman, he spoke Italian, and the girl
Mhm.
spoke German, and
Yep.
then I can't remember the other ones, but I remember those. So
No, yeah, I agree, and I thought not one of them can speak the local language, but they have an extreme interest in that area,
right. Well, I thought
that was really strange.
I kind of thought that Ari kind of didn't a little bit, because he was like, no, don't. Wasn't he saying that to her?
He grabbed the militant guy, grabbed her around the waist,
that's right,
and
yeah.
he was like, "Don't do that."
Yeah.
And then there was some interesting things happening in this movie that they're not really pivotal to the main storyline, so they didn't have to amp them up necessarily. But there was a lot happening in the background. They were talking about the new laws about because the government was Islamic, and so they were
Mhm.
talking about the new Islamic laws that were
Oh, yeah,
really
with the women,
constrictive about
yeah.
women. and like women have to be covered, and you can't drink alcohol or you can't buy alcohol in the streets and stuff like that.
No.
Yeah, Greg Kinnear was like,
He's like, not the alcohol.
So there was some interesting cultural things that were happening because Rwanda was, or Rwanda's the city. Sudan was like under like harsh government control, or I don't know the history totally of Sudan either, but and then the guy, when he grabbed her, he made a comment about how, you know, like he kind of made like a raping sort of comment about the woman and about the culture of genital mutilation, which is really sad and harsh,
really scary.
And so I thought, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with that story, but I'm
actually kind of glad that you mentioned that, because I wanted to talk about that genital mutilation, because that's like, you know, I mean, I don't know how prevalent that is nowadays, but I know
still.
There
was an episode of This American Life about it, where a woman, she's an adult now, and she was told as a child, she grew up in a Muslim part of India.
Mm-hmm.
It's a specific Muslim sect. I don't think it's like, I'm not trying to lump all the Muslim religions together, but it's a sect of Islamic Muslim.
No, religion. Islam is, okay. That's right. You're right.
It's a sect of that, and they perform those on women, and so they told her when she was a kid that every girl had, I think they called it like a bug or a bacteria or something, that every girl had to have it removed. And so they did it, and she grew up, and she didn't think anything of it until she obviously, like, sexually matured, and you get to an age where you want to, like, when you're dating, and you want to, you know, have sex. And it was so painful.
God.
And
and they, like, remove the clitoris, I think, too.
And the people that do, it's usually, like a local woman in the community that does it, so it's not a trained doctor.
Right.
It's not somebody who went to medical school. I mean, not that somebody who went to medical school should be doing it anyway, but it's...
No.
It's, you know, like, different... There's varying levels. Some women don't experience as much pain as other women, but it's unpleasant. So they basically... The goal is they think that it will stop women's sex drive. And it makes sex incredibly painful. And so anyway... So it is still done, and it's I'm sure it's more prevalent than people know, just because I think when you, I don't know, it's really sad.
It's really sad.
So
it's
sad.
Really
and
scary.
I think that, anyway, he commented about it. He made comments about her and how, you know,
you can be as like rough as you want.
You have to be rough with them because they can't feel anything, which is not true. It's not that they can't feel anything. It's incredibly painful from what I've listened to and heard. And so I thought that was really sad. Just a very small part of the movie that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they talked about that in this movie. But it's
no, there was an episode of Nip Tuck actually that I'm just thinking about, and I just thought of, where there was a woman that had experienced genital mutilation, and she went to, you know, the guys and was like, I want to feel and enjoy sex, and so they helped her out or whatever, and it was like a really emotional, it was a pretty decent episode, and then of course one of the guys slept with her, and I was like, you gotta ruin it by this guy sticking his dick in everything. Yeah, but like, I was just kidding. Well, no. Well, like, actually, it was kind of interesting because it was sweet because she slept with this guy and she's like, I'm not really like feeling it, like I'm not, you know, and the nurse or the anesthesiologist was like, you need to feel yourself out before you have a partner, and she ends up like masturbating and having an orgasm, and she's in her bed at the place, and she's like, it is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful experience. And it just like, I'm giving me goosebumps. Like, but it was they used like the tip of one of her toes or something.
Oh, like a skin graft or something?
Yeah. And so, but it was very interesting, and but it was just this one of the very few like moments where like women actually connected with each other as women versus like as sexual objects, which is kind of how they always were viewed in that show. That show's really gross. Like I don't want to ever watch it again. I like sold all my DVDs because I was like, I'm never going to see this show again. I don't think, as a woman of, you know, like let's say the woman of the 21st century, I cannot watch that show now and be like, I'm okay with the way that they treat women in this because it's disgusting, honestly. But anyway, so I was just thinking of that, but it was, I mean, it was a very like emotional thing because it was one of the very few times where they actually touched on, hey, this is like a real thing that women are experiencing in the world, and it's a very scary thing, and this is the harm that it can do. And so anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's just amazing what people do to women in order for women to oppress them. It's a very scary and it's a very real, and it's like we are so, as much as I bitch and complain about this country, I am very lucky to live here. I have a lot more freedoms than other women do in other countries.
Yep, religious freedom,
you know, like, I can own
really,
my own land.
Yep.
Like
you can drive.
I can
you don't
drive.
Have to cover.
I can vote.
Yep.
I can choose who I want to marry. You know, I can choose if I want to marry a woman. You know, I can marry a man. I can marry no one at all.
Yep.
Like,
it's dangerous to think that things aren't happening in the world.
Yeah.
When they are.
It's dangerous to be naive.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't. You really can't. Not in this. You can't. And honestly, at this point in time, with all of the access that we have to the internet and to, I mean, you should take everything you read on the internet with a grain of salt, obviously. But it's just, at this point, we as a culture have no excuse to be ignorant. You know, says a girl who thought that Vermont was a city. And Holland wasn't not its own country. Anyway, but we have no excuse to be ignorant.
Yeah.
Because we have access to everything, every possible thing. And so and that's kind of part of what I think bothered me so much about this movie is that there is no excuse at this point in time to cast people who are not people of color in these roles that are meant for people of color, Israeli individuals, or again, whatever, you know, whatever race there is that could pass as Israeli, you know?
I think I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. I think for the star power, if they wanted to cast Chris Evans, if they wanted to cast Chris
My
Evans,
bad. Sorry, just hit the
for the star power.
I don't know if they can hear that.
I wish that they would have just given him a better backstory where he said, "I'm an American. I grew up in America. When I heard about the plight of what's happening, and I'm Jewish."
Right.
I decided to go to Israel and help or something. That would have been fine, and then have the rest of his crew be from Israel.
Right. But have him not even be like a lead.
No.
Yeah, like he could be one of the lead characters.
Yeah.
But well, and it's like and I think that to me is so frustrating with when they do that with certain actors is that I know that they're doing it for the star power. They're doing it because they know it's going to be successful because, you know, like, if you cast Leonardo DiCaprio as a role like H.H. Holmes, which he's totally going to suck at, whatever, I'm not salty over it at all. Anyway, I'm a little salty over it. I'm really salty. I'm really mad. I'm really, really mad. She's laughing, by the way.
But did you, Lauren, you hear? I just heard this.
Did you?
I read it before I came over and I wanted to bring it up, but they are casting Julia Roberts as Harriet Tubman.
What?
It's not offensive because they need to put butts in seats.
Right.
It's called the Butts in Seats Initiative. It's a new Hollywood thing. The economy is maybe a little... They're not getting the money that they need to keep making movies.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're doing is they're just, and Nicolas Cage is going to be George Washington Carver.
Oh, excellent.
The
he will
peanut
do
butter
amazing.
inventor himself.
She's
So-
joking. These are not things. Actually, they did make a Harriet Tubman movie. Did you know that?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. Yeah, they made a terrible decision by casting a person of color.
Yeah, I
in
know,
the lead
right?
role.
I didn't even know that was a film that was out. And well, actually, I thought Octavia Spencer was going to play her for some reason, but then I realized that she played her in Drunk History, and that's probably where I got confused. So,
Yeah.
but no, well, yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. It's just like, oh my god, there's like that meme. Did you ever see that meme where people were putting Scarlett Johansson as Gandhi?
No.
They're like, Scarlett Johansson as Gandhi. Is this offensive? Like, so.
I like.
Well, because she played. She was gonna play. She was gonna play a person of color role. It wasn't Ghost in the Shell. It was something else, and she stepped down from it because there was like a huge backlash. Which I don't know Scarlett Johansson, but that's kind of what I'm assuming is why she decided to step down from it, rather than her being like a decent person. I would hope that's because she's a decent person, but she also accepted the role to begin with. So
Yeah.
just saying, like.
Well, I think if you're under the mindset where you're sort of just not thinking about it, which is not an excuse, but then you could say, yeah, I'll take the role, no big deal, and then you sort of start thinking, maybe this is not a role I should be doing,
Right.
but I don't know. I just wish that they had taken more care.
Yeah,
With
there should have
the
been more
story.
thought. Yeah.
And they should have cut out a lot of the like nothing scenes and added more Ethiopian storylines.
I agree. Oh, there is one thing I want to say.
Oh yeah.
Well, so this was just my own little this is just my own little thing, but I was kind of hoping that there was going to be a montage where they like redid the hotel.
Me too. I was really hoping for like the HGTV scene.
Like I wanted like a cute little scene where they're like, we're painting, and I just put paint on your nose, like, you know, like.
I can't believe you said that, because I was hoping for it too, because I was kind of bothered. I was actually really bothered when the German tourists showed up and they just were flipping over tables and giving them rooms.
Yeah.
And I thought, I gotta see these rooms because they've been dormant for years,
Yeah.
so I can't
Like,
imagine
you
they're
don't even
clean.
know what. Well,
Yeah.
and like the front door just fell off its hinges.
Yeah,
so it's
and-
obviously not a well put together place.
The
Like-
resort didn't look that big, so I just wanted to see where they put the rooms to begin with.
Oh no, there was a bunch of like little
like outbuildings?
yeah, like houses,
Okay.
not like houses, but little not like you know what I mean, little houses, whatever. Just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I can't think of
Tiny
what.
houses
It's
made
like-
of
yeah.
ticky tacky.
it's just I was just like hoping for like one of those like you know, I don't know, like some upbeat like
I wanted
like,
that as well.
like,
Like, let's get moving.
yeah, like, let's get physical. I don't know, it's the first 80s song I could think
No,
of.
I like it. I wanted that as well, because they said, you know, they had like a light bulb moment where they
Yeah.
thought they needed guests.
And
so
I was just
wanted
so
to see
surprised
it.
that, like, I'm just, and this, I mean, you know, obviously what they had to do was way more important than redoing a hotel. Saving
It speaks
lives, but,
it
like-
speaks volumes about the rest of the movie.
Yeah, that
But
does,
did
yeah.
you clean it? I don't know.
Oh, so, okay, and I wanted to ask you a question, actually. Was it just me, or did you have, like, a hard time figuring out why they were even being persecuted to begin with?
Yes, I did
Okay.
not know. I didn't know if it was just good old anti-Semitism or if there
Right.
was another reason. They never explained it.
No, they didn't.
But they
so I
definitely
looked
had,
it up.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Because I was curious about that. I was like, did like she not get that either? Because I was like having a hard time. I'm like, okay, so why? But
Yeah.
like, you have to give a reason why these people are being persecuted. They can't just. I mean, yes, it could just be because they're Jewish, but they're like things don't just happen. I mean,
Mhm.
yes, things happen, but.
Well, you have to, if you're creating a narrative, you have to explain it.
Yeah, like there's usually like for people dying, thousands of people being
Mhm.
murdered just because they're Jewish. There's usually like a snowball effect to why this is occurring.
Yep.
Like there's usually a reason as to why it's occurring, and I was kind of like, okay, so why though? Like
No,
why?
I
Yeah.
agree.
Okay,
I
good.
totally
Then
agree.
that makes me feel better because I was just I was like, am I not paying enough attention? Because I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't care that much about the movie, so I was paying enough attention to do the podcast, but it was like barely enough. Like
Yeah.
I had to rewind a lot of stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like, what just happened that felt important? So yeah, but okay, so oh wait, let me say one other. No, I'll say that. Never mind. Okay.
All right.
So in the 1970s and 1980s, there was a big exodus of refugees from the Beta Israel community. The Ethiopian Revolution in 1974 heightened underlying political tensions in the country, with opponents of the military regime facing the threat of arrest or execution. And so then there were droughts in 73 and 74, and it led to like widespread famine, one of the worst humanitarian crises of the 20th century, and their civil war began in 1974 in Ethiopia. So Ethiopian Jews became more active in rebel struggles against the military regime. I'm just reading this it's from time.com, by the way. Infighting between the differing rebel groups led to more and more Beta Israel refugees fleeing Ethiopia via Sudan at the beginning of 1978. There is one estimate that suggests around 4,000 of the 20,000 Beta Israel people who made the journey from northern Ethiopia to Sudan died en route.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that did make me laugh is when they escaped on the plane at the end, and the head, like, asshole dude started shooting his gun in the air. The first thing I thought of was, you've seen Hot Fuzz, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like, do we shoot your gun in the air and go, aw? Simon Pegg's like, no, I don't shoot my gun in the air and go, aw, because I'm watching Point Break. Keanu Reeves was there.
I love it, yeah. Is
That was
true?
the first thing I thought of.
There's a point you can hit someone and their head will just explode.
That was like the first, like as I was watching it and he started doing that, I was like, do you ever just point your gun in the air and go, aw, like out loud I said that. Like,
that's amazing.
So,
I love it.
It was just, yeah, but anyway, so.
Something that I thought,
Mm-hmm.
of all the negative things, I'm really
Yes.
glad there wasn't a weird romance between the blonde woman and Chris
Oh my
Evans.
God, me too.
I was actually,
dude, I was really nervous about that.
I love a good love story within the right context, but I was
Mhm.
actually nervous the whole time that there was going to be like a weird sex scene
Dude,
montage with them.
Oh
just,
my
like,
God,
in the
me
resort,
too.
like tearing each other's clothes off, totally taking away from the rest of it. So
Yes.
I'm so glad there was
Oh.
no romance. She was an agent. She was
Yeah.
not there for sex.
Right.
And I really appreciate that.
No, I do too. You know what?
Of all the things they did wrong, they did that right.
It's so funny that you said that, because when they were sitting on the beach and it was like kind of this little intimate moment between them, I was like, God, just please let them be friends. Please let them be friends.
Yep.
Because if they have sex, I will, like, from then on, I will not be interested in the rest of the movie because it will have ruined it for me. Because I'm like, really? Like, it's...
Well, because it would be, she's only there to be a vessel for sex.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, like, and I know I give a lot of shit about that movie Gifted with him in it, Chris Evans. I did not like that movie. Well, it's not totally true. I liked parts of it. I thought that they did a very bad job of certain other things.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jenny Slate. I love Jenny Slate. I think she's great. I've really never seen her in anything where I didn't like her. I think she's funny, she's adorable, whatever. But her character in that was literally just to be there for, like, a sexual moment and, like, a joke. And I was just like, that wasn't even, like, it was funny, that scene. I don't know if you remember. I mean, we watched it, like,
I remember it. The little girl walked in on them.
She was like, hi, Miss So-and-so, or something. And it was super cute.
It was snotty.
It was snotty. Yeah. It was super cute because it was so snotty, and it was so, like, she got her revenge at that second. It was perfect. But it was just, like, there's no reason for her to be here. And also their sex scene was so, like, it felt so out of left field and so weird that I was just like, why did you include this? There's no reason for it to be here. Like, and it's like what... I mean, I've said this to you. If you see two heterosexual people, they have to have sex in a movie. Yep. And it's kind of like Hollywood has that rule. You know?
Nobody can be professional.
Yeah.
If
they're attractive and heterosexual.
Throbbing genitals, you are just you cannot be professional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You throbbing genitals. Yeah, and that's like, and I'm so glad that you said something because I was thinking that exact same thing. That I was just like,
so happy.
please do not do that. It will ruin it for me.
I almost like the way the rest of the movie worked. I'm actually thinking there might be some B-roll footage of them having sex because I feel like the director was like, "Do it, do it, do it."
Yeah.
And then somebody was like, "The movie's too long. We have to cut something out." And they're like, "I guess I'll cut the sex scene out."
Yeah, I'm really glad that they didn't either, and I'm really bummed out that she had such a small part because she was
awesome.
So
no, I agree.
Cool. Like
she was really cool,
and I like that actress Haley Bennett. I think she's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen her in things, but I can't.
Yeah.
I don't like off the top of my head. I can't think of what, but I know her face.
I've seen her. I saw her in this one movie. I want to say it was called like Julie or Julia or something, but it was about this girl who it was like a horror movie. She was like being stalked by these people, and she was so cool in that movie too. She was such a badass. So, I mean, everything.
Oh, she was in Music and Lyrics.
I never. I saw part of it, I think, but I don't remember. But
the girl on the train. She was in The Girl on the Train.
I did not see that one, but I read the book.
Okay.
So, by the way, Emily Blunt as that. No, I never saw that.
Okay.
By the way, Emily
Sounded
Blunt.
like a title of something you would have seen.
Yeah, I didn't. It looked really dumb. Anything that says like The Haunting of something, I'm like, I'm good.
The Haunting of Hill House.
The Haunting. Oh, I didn't actually even like that one either. Though that's the thing. Like,
yeah,
it was like because I liked it up until like I think it was like 6 or 8 episodes or something. I liked it up to like let's say there's 8 episodes. I liked it up to like the 6th episode, and then I was like, this is really stupid. And, like they had a bunch of shit that happened that didn't have any explanation. And anyway,
it looked too scary for me. I couldn't even watch the whole trailer because I was like, no.
There were definitely certain points where I was sitting on my couch and I had my blanket up to my chin, my nose. I was like, oh no, what's gonna happen?
I don't like ghost stories.
No,
I think we've talked about this before, but anyway.
But I was thinking specifically of like The Haunting of Sharon Tate.
Oh.
So we're watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood soon. Because that was my bad. I didn't realize that it didn't come out yet. But there's a movie with Hilary Duff called The Haunting of Sharon Tate where she starts seeing her future, like, her future murder or whatever. And I was just like, no, it looked really stupid. Like, I watched the trailer and I don't even think I watched the whole thing because it looked so bad.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is, like... you just like I'm like, no, I don't like movies that have like The Haunting of, and you're like, right, so The Haunting of Hill House, you didn't. Anyway, thank you for calling me out of my shit.
Oh, you're welcome.
She keeps me honest.
Yeah, I do.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, so would you recommend this movie?
I would not. I think it's a very good story. I think they were handed a delightful opportunity that they failed on. They being the filmmakers, and I can see why it went straight to Netflix, just because it's just not strong enough.
Well, I think it was a Netflix original. I don't think it was like.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they shopped around
that's true.
Before Netflix picked it up.
Especially with such a big name like Chris Evans.
Yeah, and so I think that under different circumstances, the story is gold. It's a gold mine, and it just was not done.
No,
it wasn't done well. It was.
It's like
insensitive.
It's like using a paintbrush. Like what you're saying. It's instead of using a pickaxe to extract gold from the gold mine, you're using a paintbrush. Yeah, it's just not effective.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It's not good, and but I think the story is really, really, really top. I mean, it's based on a true story, obviously, so that makes sense. But I'm disappointed because of how good it could have been. But I would not recommend. I think it got a little slow. Also near the end, I started getting pretty bored, and I was pretty annoyed.
Yeah.
So those two feelings together made it not. It was hard to get through it, and I don't think I'd tell anybody to watch. Like, I was texting with Mike near the end of it, and I was sort of ranting to him about how offensive it was that there's, like, they could have said it. They could have set the movie in Pittsburgh for how much cultural appreciation they showed toward Israel, or even Ethiopia and Sudan, for that matter. They could have said it anywhere. And I was sort of ranting to him about how offensive it was. And I even told him,
it's, like, insensitive, too.
Yeah. And the thoughtlessness of the casting and how it was put together. And so
And then, the director doesn't even say anything about the fact that, about the white savior complex.
Well,
he's
can't.
Just like...
He can't.
Well, no, he can't, because he has, like, no... He has no... like, what's that? Like, gravitas or whatever. Like, he has he doesn't
have a leg to stand on.
Exactly, yeah. He does not have a leg to stand on, because he knows that...
He's caught.
He's like,
It's like saying, could you comment on the white savior? And then his answer is, look at all the Africans I cast.
It's like, you know what it is? It's like listening to a politician answer a question.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like, like, what are we going to do about the whatever crisis and the something? Well, we're going to do something about it. And let me tell you, that something that we're going to do is something that is going to be awesome. And it's going to be great, and we're going to do it, and it's going to be solved.
San Dimas High School Football Rules.
What is that from?
It's from Bill and Ted.
Oh.
When the jock is giving the speech and everybody's sort of like, there's like crickets, and then he says that and everybody cheers. And then they riff on that in Billy Madison. He's like, Nip High Football Rules. Nip High School
Have you, I mean, I know that you don't really watch Family Guy, but did you ever see the episode where Lois runs for office or whatever?
I don't know if I have.
I mean, I stopped watching that show because it got, but
there's a show that kind of offends me sometimes, which is
big time,
because I love South Park, but for some reason Family Guy doesn't do it right.
Well,
like South Park should be offensive, but it's not because they do it so smartly.
Well, they're not like blatant sexist people.
Yeah, and Family Guy is like, I feel like this is a tangent, but I feel like South Park does it. South Park is offensive for social awareness, and Family Guy is offensive because Seth MacFarlane must be really angry.
He must hate women.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
honestly,
all I can think of, because the spirit behind the jokes feels different.
No, I know. Well, no. Yeah, so anyway, so she's running for office, and she's like, I'm going to do this, and she's like really like compelling and like interesting, and all these people are just like, what? I don't like, and she's like in this, she's doing a debate, so there's this audience there, and then she goes, 9/11, and everyone's like, yeah, 9/11, and she's like, and so every time,
that's really good.
Yeah, and so every time they ask a question, she pauses and she goes, 9/11.
That's really
people
smart.
Are like, and then she like wins, I think, or something. I don't really remember.
Like that.
Yeah, it was clever.
Yeah. So what were we gonna say?
Shit, and I can't remember. It's fine. Anyway.
Would you recommend this movie?
I would not. If someone was like, oh, have you seen the Red Sea Diving Resort? I would say I have seen it, but if you're going to watch a movie about a bunch of people who are rescuing Rwanda, or, like an African group of people from persecution or genocide, I would watch Hotel Rwanda.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would recommend that every time over this movie, because this movie was just... I think it just left something to be desired.
Trying too hard.
Yeah.
Left something to be desired.
And whoever wrote it just did not care about the culture of these people, or did not care about reflecting the culture, or didn't care about... But either way, it's like, we're supposed to care about this entire group of people, but we know nothing about them.
Mm-hmm.
And...
It's heaviness for attention instead of heaviness to make a good movie.
Yeah, like... It's like what you said, like with, with if Steven Spielberg directed it the way he did Schindler's List.
Or Munich, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Schindler, I didn't even know he directed Munich, but it was, he knows how to tell a compelling and interesting story.
And I think also
and he's Jewish.
I don't know anything about the director of...
Gideon Raff.
Okay, I don't know, he might be Jewish. I can't say whether or not, but I just think... If you're going to make a movie honoring the Jewish culture, then you have to have a heart for the story that you're telling. And it didn't feel like he had a heart for the Ethiopian storyline.
No. I mean, it was made
and
for
cash.
cash.
Steven Spielberg definitely has a heart.
Well, he's Jewish, too, I mean, and, so he's Jewish. He, I'm sure, has maybe people in his family who at one point had, experienced persecution or something, because he's what, like in his 60s or 70s now or something.
Yeah.
So he's an older guy, so he could have a grandfather or even parents that had went through the Holocaust. That's totally possible. So.
Oh, it says Gideon Raff is an Israeli film and television director, so that's
well,
really
that is
surprising.
really disappointing.
Jeez, he was born in Jerusalem.
What is wrong? Gideon Raff, I'm calling you out
here. He went to school in Tel Aviv, so I don't...
Gideon Raff, what are you doing?
Really baffling. Listen, this whole time, I should have done my research, because I probably would have ranted even more. This whole time, I was thinking it was some American...
Yeah, me too.
Oh my gosh. Ugh, this makes me... I wish I would have...
God. Such a mess. Ugh.
And it's really sad, because I said Steven Spielberg could have done a better job. And this guy is an Israeli film and television director.
But you know what? You're not wrong. That's the thing.
I mean, he
You're
knows...
not wrong.
He lives... he's from Israel. He speaks Hebrew. He could have been...
Yeah. You know what? Yep.
So, I think that this changes my perspective a little bit. It makes me a little bit more sad about the movie. Because I had
a little angrier.
I had a little bit of forgiveness, because I thought it was just made by somebody who just... Like, it was like somebody going through film school who thought, I'm going to make a harrowing movie.
Yeah.
And it just fell flat.
Well,
but
and he probably lived during the time when this was happening.
Probably.
That's even not... That's... Like, what, it happened in the 70s and the 80s? Oh, well, the 80s.
79 to 81,
so...
I think it...
So, actually, I wonder if Hungry Like the Wolf was even out then when that happened.
We spent so much time on the cultural mishaps, we missed the musical mishaps. I don't know.
But like, he probably lived through it. He probably...
Well, he might have been a kid, I don't know.
But, however, he was still alive during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, I mean...
So, don't watch this movie.
I'm done. I'm like, I don't even have anything else to say. I'm just like...
I think if you...
I'm done.
If you want to watch a movie about displaced people getting rescued, Hotel Rwanda is awesome.
It's fantastic.
If you want to watch a good, what I called earlier a good, Jewish heritage movie, I think Munich is really good, and Schindler's List is obviously really good.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of options if you want to get that sort of story.
Yeah.
And that...
And Red Sea Resort...
Yeah.
The Red Sea Diving Resort is not one of them.
Not one of them.
Not at all. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I think we're done.
I think we're done as well.
Yeah.
We've talked for a while.
We
This one got us fired up. I knew this would be a long one because I was so fun. This morning,
I'm glad that you didn't like it either.
Yeah.
I knew you weren't going to, though. I knew it. I was like,
I was really excited when I read the synopsis.
Yeah, I know you were.
Because you gave me some options, and so I read the synopsis of that one, and I thought, I think I'd like this, and I was prepared to like it.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
No.
So.
No. Could watch that one.
Nope.
No, I just...
Anyway.
It's whatever.
So, now we have to calm down from being fired up.
Yeah. Time to go get some chocolate. All right. Well, you guys can follow us on Instagram. We have Facebook. And we actually have 5 stars on iTunes, so I'm a little excited about that. Yeah. We only have 1 rating. But you guys can help us out.
If you like what you hear, give us some stars.
Yes. Please give us lots of stars because we like them. And you like us too, I would assume, because you're listening to us. So.
And you can listen to us on SoundCloud, Spotify, and I thought... in iTunes, and I thought you said Stitcher, but I've never looked us up on Stitcher.
I've never looked us up on Stitcher either. Or I think I did once, and then we weren't on there, so I never tried again.
Don't try Stitcher.
So don't try Stitcher. Just try SoundCloud, or everyone uses Spotify or iTunes.
Spotify is awesome. When Spotify first came out, I thought they should have given me money because I was going around telling strangers.
She actually...
Have you discovered Spotify yet?
No, you actually convinced me to get Spotify Premium. Legitimately.
Yeah, it's the best.
Because you kept going on and on about it, and you were like, oh, it's so great, it's so great. And I kind of used Pandora, but I didn't like Pandora because I want to choose what I want to listen to. Yeah.
I don't like that Pandora's do thumbs up and then we'll make a playlist for you.
Yeah, I don't
No, I
either.
want to make my own
Yeah,
playlist.
exactly. Yeah, so
I already know
you
that.
like you legitimately like convinced like you
Yeah.
should have gotten like
And there's no podcasts on Pandora, I don't think.
no, there's not.
So-
no, so
There's no
don't
books
listen
on
to
tape.
Pandora.
There's no language lessons.
Mm-mm.
Listen,
Mhm.
Spotify's not even paying us, but I recommend
But we
them
like
100%.
Spotify, so
yeah.
what if we could get
Oh my
an app from
gosh.
Spotify?
Anyway.
that would be awesome. Anyway,
So everybody,
all right. Have a good day, evening, night, whatever, morning.
any day,
All right.
anytime.
Make sure you rate us on iTunes.
Right off.
Bye.